Hello there, and thanks for joining me. I'm digital artist Aaron Rutten, and in this video, I'll show you how to remove a watermark. We'll take a look at a few different kinds of watermarks and a few different techniques for removing watermarks depending on the kind of watermark that you're encountering. But first, let me say that I made this video not as a tool for people to steal other people's artwork, but to raise awareness in the art community about art theft and about people who remove watermarks. And I just want to show how easy it is to remove a watermark because honestly, watermarks are not all that effective for protecting your artwork. And the goal of this video is to help you do a better job of protecting your artwork. So while I'm going to show the vulnerabilities of watermarks, I'm also going to provide some solutions that are better than watermarking. Let me also preface this video by saying that I don't encourage anyone to remove watermarks from anybody's images. It's not right, it's not cool, and there can be serious consequences to doing so. And really, it's not that hard nowadays to reverse image search, and that makes it really easy to find people who are stealing artwork. It's true that at one point watermarks were an effective way of protecting your artwork, but now as Photoshop is getting better and better, watermarks are becoming less and less effective. It doesn't hurt to watermark your art, it probably will add some protection to your artwork, but it's not the ultimate solution. So I have a piece of artwork here. This is a painting of a dragon and a unicorn, and you can see that there is a couple of copyrights down here at the bottom and top that say copyright 2017 Aaron Rutten, all rights reserved, do not redistribute, share, or use commercially. So that's one kind of watermark. Another kind is my signature here, so people know that it's my artwork. And then there's a big giant logo, which you may or may not be able to notice in the middle here. If I increase the opacity of that a little bit higher, you can see exactly what it is. And I just made it kind of faint. So I'm not going to explain in this video how to create these watermarks. You can check out some of my other tutorials on how to create watermarks if you're interested. I'm here today to remove watermarks. So this is a pretty overly watermarked image. It almost kind of wrecks the image and distracts from the image itself. There's just a lot going on here, so I wouldn't recommend doing this much watermarking to your piece because it can do more harm than good. So you would maybe want to use one or two of these options at the most. I have a flattened image here, which is that same image with the watermarks burned into the image. They're permanently there, they're fused in. So let's go ahead and start with one of the easiest solutions here. Let's go ahead and just crop this image down like this. And we've successfully removed the first watermark there. We haven't lost very much of the image, and I could certainly still use this to print or use in any other way that I wanted to. Next is my signature down at the bottom. Let's get rid of that. This is another pretty easy thing to do. We'll just select the old lasso tool here, and we will select just as much of the signature as we can. It's okay if you get a little bit more than that. And then we're going to go to Edit, Fill. We'll choose for contents, Content Aware. Now, Content Aware is going to analyze the background and attempt to replace that area with something in the background. Now, if I zoom in really close here, and I deselect that active selection, you can see that if we do a before and after, that's pretty much done a perfect job of removing that signature. So bye-bye signature. You could just put somebody else's name there if you wanted to. And then the last one that's remaining is really the most difficult one to remove, but it also really compromises the quality of the artwork when you put it online. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, it's going to protect your artwork the most, and it's also going to harm your artwork the most. But even this is not impossible to remove. Now, you could, of course, take the time to use something like a clone stamp brush, and you could try to clone from the background and remove it that way. And people might want to take the time to do that depending on how complex the image is and how complex the logo is. In this case, I wouldn't personally do it that way. What I would do is I would just go online and look for that artist's logo, because chances are that's probably on their website or somewhere else, and they might have it readily available. You might even be able to just redraw that logo yourself. So moving on to the next example, I have this same flattened image here with all of the copyrights burned into it. But this time I've gone ahead and downloaded this artist's logo, and I've brought it in here, and I've done my best to size it to get it just about perfectly matched up with the position and size of the logo. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a selection by holding Control and clicking on the little icon here in the Layers palette to put a selection around that logo. Then I'm going to hide the logo. I'm going to hide the selection with Control H. I'm going to go back to that layer that has the watermark on it. I'm going to right-click on that layer, and I'm going to duplicate it. And on that duplicate, I'm going to create a mask. Now, if I hide that background image, you can see exactly what that did. That logo cut out a hole in the mask. So now if I bring my other layer back, and on the top duplicate layer, I change the composite method to either screen or perhaps multiply. It depends on how that watermark is blending. In this case, it's blending lighter. So I'm going to choose multiply, and I'm just going to reduce the opacity until magically that logo disappears. Now, if I go back to my original example with all of my layers and that watermark that I added, I'll explain exactly why this works. Now, when I added this logo in here as a watermark, it's a white logo. And all I really did was reduce the opacity of it down to exactly 5. So essentially what that did is that made all of the pixels underneath the logo just a little bit lighter by 5%. So if I just reverse engineer that and I make those pixels just a little bit darker, it doesn't have to be exactly 5%, but just enough to where it blends in, I'm redarkening those pixels and I'm essentially reversing the effect that that watermark is having. And then all I need to do is just go ahead and just flatten this image here. And I can just go through and just really quickly remove my signature here just so we can have an image with absolutely no watermarks on it at all. And there we go. I've removed all of those watermarks from my artwork, and now I could do whatever I want with this. I could sell it on posters. I could enter it in contests as my own. Well, of course it is my own, but if you were doing this, you could enter my artwork in contests and sell it on t-shirts and posters and all that stuff. So for me personally as an artist, watermarks are pretty much useless at this point. So what can you do to better protect your artwork? Well, you can register your artwork as an official copyright, but that's not necessarily going to stop people from stealing your work anyways. Really, what's going to deter people from stealing your artwork the most is to make it unusable, or at least severely limit the use. So the best way to do that is just to make it really small and only put up a very small version of your artwork online. Don't ever upload the full resolution version. If you want somebody to be able to zoom in and see all the fine detail, then I'd suggest just cropping your image and then uploading a few other small previews just cropped in on different places in the image. And this doesn't mean that you can't give people an opportunity to enjoy the full resolution version of your artwork. You just want to make sure that you don't make it public. So for example, I could and do upload high resolution versions of my artwork to Patreon, and I know that people are paying on Patreon to support my channel. Chances are those probably aren't going to be people who are going to steal my work and use it for their own. You could also encourage people to buy prints and things like that. So there you go. That's how easy it is to remove watermarks. If you found this information helpful, take a quick second to like this video. And if you'd like to see more art and design tutorials like this, make sure to click that subscribe button and enable notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.